Welcome to A Drop of Happy, the podcast arm to the blog lightv.com, where we focus on carefree, stress well, light and lively living while loving and reviewing entertainment and pop culture tidbits. I am your host, Wanda Toby, and my overall focus is to help you manage stress by using the tools that you've got to manage the stuff that you've got going on in your life. So it's not about reinventing the wheel, but it's about accessing your current capabilities, being mindful, and honing those in to counteract the stress response by enacting the relaxation response. And one of the ways is through the arts and through engaging in the arts, but ultimately through tapping into our imagination and our creativity and things like that. With that being said, I did go to the movies. So I watch a lot of stuff, and I don't nearly do as much reviews as I should. Like, if I kept pace with how much I watch stuff, I'd just sit in front of the screen, watch, write a review, because that's it. But I did go to the movies this past weekend or week. I think it was during the week. Anyway, I want to talk about The Woman King. And before I get into my review, let's talk about the controversy, okay? Which is a little aggravating. And a little aggravating, and I find that when Black folk do something that portrays us in a different type of light, in a different situation, and taps into historical aspects that debunked what he wrote as history, and by he I mean those who colonized, those who were the oppressors. There's always some type of controversy, and there's always some type of propaganda that comes out to basically promote us not going to see the movie, right? And I didn't even know about this controversy. And honestly, this is what pushed me to go see the movie. I'm like, oh, if they're trying to do this, they're trying to get us not to see the movie. And why? So here's the thing. We know that there was some sect of Africans and tribes selling and others into the slave trade. We're aware that, like any other land, right, villages and kingdoms did fight each other. Like, this is not something new. So why there's a problem of this being depicted in a realistic fashion is beyond me. And just to assume that whatever they're saying is accurate without seeing the movie is beyond me as well. What was the other aspect? And the other thing is, there was a TikToker who did a post that was so good, and I don't remember her name. Maybe I'll post it in the links. But that was what she basically highlighted that, if you go look up some of these women, the Izogi, and looked up some of the history, it is written from the enslavers and the racist point of view, right? And you all know things during that time that was written by us was 100% all propaganda, because they wanted to make us look a certain way to justify their in capturing human beings and enslaving them in the way that they did. And in addition, it's like, you know, that they were, the African people were duped to a level, were not, clearly not aware that the type of slavery in, during that time, vastly different from what they knew. I mean, there's so many nuances and so many layers, and I don't know where this whole controversy, where this whole thing came from, because all movies take creative licenses, if that's what we're talking about. But we still watch them joints, right? And then, I don't know about anybody else, but whenever I do, I go like research, and I'll go see what the people are saying, see what the director's saying. All you have to do is listen, go look up Gina Prince Bythewood and see what she has to say about the work, the research, the studying that she's done to bring this to light. So, controversy be damned. I'm telling y'all right now, go see this movie and make your judgment for yourself. It is worth you going to see, because it's fabulous. Again, I really pushed to see it, because when I saw the preview, I was like, oh, it's Viola Davis. I mean, I went to see it with no expectations. I saw the preview, saw Viola, and I was like, okay, I'm going to see it. But I was going to take my time. I wasn't like in a rush, but then I heard about all this controversy, so I'm like, oh no, we going to see it today. Because I was like, we're not doing that. The Woman King is the movie to see. I'm sick. It is. It is phenomenal. It's starring Viola Davis, John Boyega, Lashana Lynch, Hero Phineas Tiffin, and Thuso Mbedu. And I hope I said her name right. So it's based on real life women warriors, the Izogi of the Dahomey tribe during the height of the slave trade. The film, it follows Naniska. Oh my God. As many times as they said her name, you think I'd say it right. Naniska, which is a beautiful name, by the way. Played by Viola Davis, as she's the leader of the Izogi, and in protecting her people, right? So the new king, who is played by John Boyega, he's King Gezo, and this has been going on for a long time, okay? And he's taken over, so he's now ruling the Dahomey people, and he has to make some tough decisions in order to save the way of life for his people, right? Because they have been participating in the slave trade to some degree, in order to protect their way of life. There was some infighting, so the people that they capture and things like that. But now they're starting to realize, right, that wait a minute, I've been participating in this for quite some time, and I'm seeing the brutal way that now we're treated, and they're starting to realize, oh, it's not going to be long before they come for us. Because sometimes, that saying, I'm about to butcher it up, but basically the premise is, you let injustice go for too long in one area, it's going to come for you, because they were greedy. They were greedy and they weren't going to stop. So he had to make some tough decisions. And The Woman King starts right off with an epic battle scene, and it just keeps the momentum going the captivating storytelling, in my opinion. I really don't think I have anything bad to say about it. I was just that much like, whoa. The pacing is well done. It was giving us a backstory while not completely boring us. The fight scenes were intense. The cinematography was breathtaking. And here's the thing about the fight scenes, though. They were exciting, graphic, but not like gruesome, right? Like, they were okay. Like, they were chopping off heads and maiming people and stuff like that. But it wasn't like gory, gruesome. It was well done, conveyed what was really going on, and so appropriate. The dialogue and the acting on point. And the thing is, the Woman King was able to show these women warriors with like just a level of realness, right? They were tough, but they weren't without their personal vulnerabilities. And they used those to channel them to make them stronger. And here's the thing. This movie touched on so many modern day issues that were present back then. Like, these villages and these kingdoms were not without their own issues, were not without their own problems that impacted their community, right? And the very real issues of the slave trade and the impact that it had on the different African tribes, that was highlighted, but it was done in such a way where it wasn't preachy, it wasn't in your face, but you understood the difficulties. And I thought, in this day and age, to pull that off in such a way, it was tastefully done, it was well done. Again, they were societies that had issues and turmoils of their own. And then on top of that, you had to contend with the the white people coming in to trade and or threaten their way of lives, right? Because they came with weapons that were just obviously not what they were used to. So it was very nuanced and layered. And then it dealt with the real life trauma of some of these women. Like, it was so well done. And let me tell y'all something. I have not given a movie a 10 out of 10 in quite some time. I don't think I've given one all year. This one gets a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Solid 10 out of 10. No, like, just, yes, we are doing this. 10 out of 10. For this movie. So if you've stuck with me this far and you're going to see the movie, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, draw your own conclusions about it. But if you've stuck with me this far, I'm about to get into some spoilers, so please pass along the podcast and come back and listen to some of my other shows. But let's talk about the spoilers. Let's talk about Naniska and the realities of her having foresight as a leader of the Izogi. But not only that, having foresight for her village, having foresight for what is possibly going to come on them, and not, and struggling, which also King Gezo was struggling too. But I think more because like the writing was on the wall, right? Because what's the guy's name? The evil guy who was the general or the whatever for the Oyo, Nagasi. He was basically hired help, hired thug, hired goon, right? And all he cared about was keeping his pockets lined. Like, he was not a good person. And why we act like there were not good people of our own, of the African descent back then too. Like, I'm not going to get on that, but he was an evil person, okay? And they were noticing that the cruelty was spreading. And eventually it was going to come to them. So I like that they highlighted her foresight. They highlighted her strength and how bomb she was. But they also highlighted the trauma that she went through. And I just love how they pulled in her being captured and what that meant, and her being raped. And even though she's strong, when she saw her captor and her rapist and everything, which was that evil guy, she wasn't like, I'm good. She was affected by it, and she had to overcome it. And I also liked how, I didn't mention this, but I liked how they highlighted their African spirituality, but that even then, not everybody subscribed to it. Like, she was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. When Amenza was like, oh, you got to do this. This is what's happening, whatever, because she prayed to God, to her gods and things like that. And to me, that's okay. Like, this whole, like, people are allowed to believe what they believe and practice what they practice and things like that. And this was what it was of the time. But it also highlighted that, in reality, some people are more committed than others. But I like that it highlighted that and didn't ignore that piece of the history. But why am I have a problem saying her name? Nanisca really had to deal with her issues. She had to confront what they were in order to move on and be successful. But again, she used that to push her forward, right? She was awesome. Her acting was awesome. She was awesome. And the part where, like, they tied everything together. So when I talked about the first battle scene, like, it wasn't just a battle scene just to be a battle scene, right? It like everything, like I said, there were layers, like everything builds on top of each other to propel the story forward. So you had this battle scene, and then you understand why you were having this battle scene, and it kind of tipped off the rest of the story. It was like the first domino piece, and then everything else fell into place. Then we have Santo Ferreria, which, let me tell you, Hero, Tifton, whatever his full name is, child. I enjoyed him, but I had only seen him in the After series, right? It's after, I don't remember what the rest of them were called, even though I've seen all of them, and I enjoyed them because it's a coming of age story, love, coming of age, all that good stuff. So it was good to see him in a different role. Honestly, I do not even know what his films that he's done. I just know him from the After series, but it was cool to see him in this role. I think he did a good job, and I think he got his comeuppance. That little twit in the movie, Santo, got exactly what he deserved. If you know, you know. But let me tell you about my favorite character, Izogi. And again, it's spoilers in this section. So if you don't want to hear it, about face, stop listening, because it's spoilers. But my gosh, she was my favorite character. Again, she was the epitome of strength and being nurturing at the same time. But she was badass. When I tell you she was badass, Lashana Lynch played the hell out of that character. Fight me if you want to. I don't care. She did. My favorite character. Everything about her. And I was heartbroken when she died. Like, excuse me? Y'all killed her? I mean, they did kill a lot of people now. Don't get me wrong. But her? Y'all. Oh, but I mean, I get it. Like, that's real. Like, you're going to lose people that you love, that you whatever. But, I just loved her character. First of all, let me tell you, I love John Boyega. I love him. And, he was kind of an asshole as a king. I'm going to be honest. But he came through at the end. And he made the right decisions. And it shows that sometimes you have to really be strong in your convictions and know where your values lie. And you'll hear me lately talking a lot about values and how important that is to us in stress management and how important that is to us in making the right decisions and things like that. It was clear that he knew where his values lied, which helped him even when other people were like, bruh, I'm not with you with this. Like, we can just continue our way of life. But he had foresight. So, yeah. And the main, I guess she's like the main, to me, she's like the second main character. Like, I feel like Naniska and Nawi, which is very interesting because they parallel each other. But the fact, again, don't come for me that I'm about to spoil a big part. You shouldn't be here listening. If you planning to go watch the movie, you should not be listening to me. Because I'm about to because this part right here, like how she ended up being Naniska's daughter was crazy. She was annoying though. Nawi was so annoying, but I think she grew with everything. She didn't lose her feistiness, and the way she handled that, ended up handling that rope. And I think that was a representation of her. Because in the beginning, she was terrible. She was like fumbling. She was not. And her handling of the rope and her inability to is like representative of her journey in the film. Because towards the end, baby, she mastered that rope. She was using that thing and hemming folks up. Again, at the end, she grew to have a better understanding of, I think, herself, of Naniska, of what it meant to be an Izogi. She suffered so much that she didn't have a choice but to become a bad ass. And who knows, she might be with child too. She might be with child with Malik's baby now. Because I bet you while they was up in that little room, he ain't pull out or none of that. I bet you. Because he was just like, oh, I'm about to take her with me. I bought her. Maybe he was going to set her free. It was so much. I ain't even going to get into all that. But I think the way that they tied that in, it was so well done. And then the other supporting characters and y'all, I cannot say enough about how much I enjoyed this film and that you need to go see it. A 10 out of 10. You need to go see it. Moral of the story is know who you are and you got to deal with your shit before you can move on and grow and just get to a better place. And it doesn't go without trials and tribulations and hardships and heartaches, but it was worth it. And in the end, they ended up defeating the Oye, defeating the Gussie and his gang. And that's what I say, his gang, because they were just some gangs. They were just fucked up. Yes, so they ended up defeating them, and she ended up the Woman King. And you got to see how they got out of being part of the people trade, the human trade. Definitely worth watching and definitely worth researching the research that Gina Prince Bythewood did and looking up her interviews and things like that. It's definitely a moment of real education as opposed to the crap that they want you to believe so you don't go see this movie, so you don't go see how awesome we were prior to and during and how we held our own. And with that being said, it's crazy. I know it's a little off topic, but I'm going to watch Birth of a Nation. I didn't watch it because, again, let me tell you something. I don't be watching movies like this because, I just stopped. But I'm going to make an exception because I made an exception for Woman King. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch it because I remember there was some jacked up controversy about why we shouldn't watch that. And again, I was unmoved at the time because I just was not watching those movies. But I should be like, why? Why y'all? Even though I know about the story about Nat Turner and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's total sidebar. But thank you for listening. Spread the word, come back. There'll be more stuff that I'll talk about and review and all that good stuff. So you can follow me on all social media at LightV, LITEVI. And above all else, remember to stress well and live light. And thanks.